Yeah.
what I do. Everything I do is just part of who I am. I don't even think about that.
The illustrious Dolly Parton has never relinquished her pursuit of new accomplishments, and her marriage is not an exception to this rule. Not only has she remained married to the same man for more than half a century, but she has also managed to do it without producing any children. Numerous admirers and detractors have posited various explanations for why she did not have any children. Some people believe that she is unable to have children, while others believe that she did not want to have children because she saw them as a potential barrier to her professional success. Nevertheless, what is the real reason that she does not have any children? She claims that this song, A Coat of Many Colors, is her favorite among the more than 3,000 songs that she has penned. Participate with us in this video as we investigate the statements that Dolly Parton has made regarding the reasons why she has never had children. You are aware that my niece Rebecca is the curator of my archives, and she is going to be, she is actually going to be a big part of my museum in Nashville. If you are familiar with Dollywood, you are aware of this. Dolly's early life and career are discussed here. It is essential that we investigate Dolly's early life history and her successful career in order to gain a deeper comprehension of the reasons behind her decision to abstain from having a child of her own, and to discover the factors that genuinely contributed to Dolly's status as the legendary icon that we are all familiar with today. Rebecca Lee Parton, best known by her stage name Dolly Parton, was born in a little cabin in Tennessee on January 19, 1946. She is the fourth child of Robert Lee and Evie Lee Parton, who had a total of 12 children together. Rebecca was the name that was bestowed upon her by her great-great-grandmother, Rebecca. In the East Tennessee Good Country, her father worked as a rancher and tenant farmer. He also owned a tobacco plantation and a section of the land in the area. The money from his farm was complemented by earnings from his second employment as a construction worker. The fact that Dad was a conscientious worker was something that Dolly generally admired, despite the fact that she did not possess the same level of expertise as her father. Dolly's mother, on the other hand, put in a lot of effort to take care of their huge family. By the time she was 35 years old, she had already given birth to 12 children, having gone through 11 pregnancies, one of which resulted in the birth of twins. Keep watching to find out more about how Dolly became famous and how she got her start in the music industry. Dolly is of the opinion that her mother, who was of Welsh descent and was deeply knowledgeable about the traditional ballads of the Southern Appalachians, was the source of her aptitude for singing. Also, the Owens family had a strong religious background. After that, they went to the Pentecostal church, where Jake, her father's brother, was a frequent preacher. At the time that Dolly was a young child, her family relocated from the area of Pittman Center to a farm located on Locust Ridge. She holds those years in high esteem and cherishes the memories she has of them. It is a copy of the cottage that they resided in on Locust Ridge, complete with the lovely farms and forests that surround it, and it can be found in her present theme park, which is called Dollywood. Not only did she come up with the concept for her amusement park, but then, in the 1970s, she also came up with the idea for the song My Tennessee Mountain Home. Despite the fact that the farm had been sold for a period of time, Dolly was able to come back and repurchase it in the late 1980s. She carried out property improvements with the help of her brother Bobby, who was also involved in the project. Dolly Parton portrayed the financial situation of her family as being devoid of any resources. In close proximity to their farm, they lived in a little cottage that only had one bedroom. It was explained to her that her father had presented evangelist Dr. Robert Thomas with a sack of cornmeal as a token of appreciation for the fact that he had brought Dolly into the world. From the time she was a young child, Dolly felt moved to compose a song about Dr. Thomas because of this one particular anecdote. Her well-known early songs, such as Coat of Many Colors and In the Good Old Days, When Times Were Bad, were written to depict the challenges that her family had to overcome. In a fortunate turn of events, Dolly was raised in Cleveland, Tennessee, in a congregation of the Church of God, and she discovered that singing provided her with comfort at a young age. When she was only 6 years old, she began performing in church. When she was 7 years old, she began playing the guitar, which prompted her uncle to gift her a guitar when she reached 8 years old. Even though Dolly was raised in a huge family, she never had any children of her own. This is a fact that is not only remarkable, but also peculiar. However, she is well known for having a tight relationship with her goddaughter that is reminiscent of that of a mother. The most fascinating aspect that you might not be aware of is the fact that Dolly's relationship with Billy Ray Cyrus and Miley Cyrus is more than simply a collaboration between musicians. They were more than just individuals who worked together. Be sure to stay tuned for more information regarding the nature of their relationship. Dolly Parton had an extensive filmography beginning in the 1980s, and before she starred in fantastic films such as 9 to 5 and The Best Little House in Texas, in which she sang a copy of her song, I Will Always Love You. In addition to her impressive musical accomplishments, Dolly Parton also had a filmography that began in the 1980s. She came to prominence in films such as Steel Magnolia, which was released in 1989, and she also had appearances in television films during the 1990s and 2000s. In addition, she had illustrious cameos in many films, including Joyful Noise, 2012. Jennifer Nettles played Dolly's mother in her biography, while Olivia Allen Lind played a younger version of Dolly. The film brought attention to Dolly's childhood and featured both of these actors. In addition, she appeared in the Netflix series Dolly Parton's Heartstrings in 2019, as well as in the film Christmas on the Square in 2020, in which she portrayed the character of an angel. Both of these projects were also part of her involvement in television. Additionally, in the year 2020, she produced a documentary that detailed the extraordinary life of Dolly Parton in great detail. Her humble beginnings in Nashville, the difficulties she encountered along the road, and her various triumphs as a songwriter and singer dating back to 1994 are all discussed in this book. Dolly's biography, which was released under the title Dolly, My Life and Other Unfinished Business, included both insightful and sensitive facts regarding her life and career up until that point. In addition to writing and producing a number of other publications, she is the author of Dream More, Celebrate the Dreamer in You, which was published in the year 2012. As an additional point of interest, in the year 2022, she collaborated with James Patterson on the writing of a suspense novel named Run, Rose, Run. The plot revolved around a country musician. It is now time to investigate the specifics of Dolly's personal life, specifically her marriage, and the question of whether or not her extensive professional experience is connected to the fact that she does not have any children of her own. A marriage and a personal life story. When Dolly Parton arrived in Nashville for the first time in 1964, she was standing outside of a laundromat when she first met Carl Thomas Dean. Dolly was 18 years old at the time, and Carl was 21 years old. According to Dolly, Carl fell in love with her right away, and they started dating almost shortly after that. Dolly, who was only 20 years old at the time, and Carl, who was 23 at the time, secretly tied the knot on the day of commemoration in 1966 in Ringgold, Georgia, which is approximately 150 miles away from Nashville. They made the decision to conceal the fact that they were getting married so that it would not be reported in the newspapers of Tennessee after they had been dating for 2 years. For the purpose of serving as witnesses, the only people there were Dolly's mother, the pastor, and his wife. After escorting Dolly to a red carpet event in 1966, Carl is reported to have hurriedly yelled to her, "Dolly, I wish you all the best, and I'm happy for you. But please don't ask me to attend another one of those dreadful events ever again." This is a story that has been passed down from generation to generation. Despite the fact that Dolly was already well known, it was obvious that Carl had no interest in working in the entertainment sector. Despite the fact that Carl has been married to Dolly for 57 years, he has maintained a high level of privacy and has only infrequently been seen in public with Dolly. Dolly fondly refers to him as her strongest supporter during the debut of her Netflix series in 2019, despite the fact that this is the case. During an interview with People magazine, she indicated that he is always going to back her, provided that she does not attempt to pull him into the decision-making process. She stated that he has always been her most essential supporter behind the scenes, but when it comes to public appearances, he does not like to go with her. She found this to be quite the contradiction. Carl does not ever feel envy of Dolly's decision to bring someone else to occasions because she has stated that she would rather bring someone else. It is interesting to note that Dolly Parton encountered a great deal of difficulty in her marriage, despite the fact that it appeared to be perfect. How about we look into those fights at some point? Absolutely, you won't want to miss out on this opportunity. Even when she is in a relationship that is incredibly powerful, Dolly Parton experiences feelings of dread and weakness, despite the fact that she is by nature an extremely free person. She revealed that her well-known hit record, Jolene, was genuinely invigorated by a real-life encounter in which a red-headed bank employee developed enthusiasm for her significant other. This event also inspired her to write the song. During an interview with National Public Radio, Dolly was quoted as saying that she and Carl began making fun of one another after she observed that Carl spent a significant amount of time at the bank, despite the fact that they did not have a lot of money. While Dolly was short and curvaceous, she was under the impression that the bank teller was taller than she was. The teller was somewhere around 6 feet tall, while Dolly was considerably shorter. During that time period, this significantly contributed to her fears of weakness, which ultimately served as the inspiration for the song that was given the name Jolene. It is interesting to note that Dolly has remarked that Carl has always been the only man who has ever been able to take her position. Despite the fact that she has admitted to having a romantic affair in the past, she has maintained her commitment to Carl because of the faith that helped her overcome the affair. In spite of the fact that they do not have any biological children, the pair continues to cherish the straightforward existence they share together. The bond that she has cultivated with her younger relatives, including her nieces and nephews, is something that she is really grateful for, and she no longer regrets the decision that they made. According to what she said with Billboard, she frequently says to her younger self, "Aren't you glad that we didn't have children?" Dolly and Carl continue to be dedicated to dealing with Dolly's more distant family members, and they have also been involved in providing assistance to children through her organization known as Dollywood. This is despite the fact that her worries on the matter have continued to reduce. Carl, Dolly's husband, stopped working in the asphalt paving business so that he could spend more time with Dolly and go on exciting adventures and holidays together. Dolly takes pleasure in spending quality time with Carl. They even occasionally have date nights in their camper, where they enjoy the simplicity of leisure by going to the drive-thru at Taco Bell. This is something that they do when she is not busy making music or giving back to the community. In order to commemorate the occasion of their half-century wedding anniversary, Carl and Dolly held a grand ceremony in Nashville. Dolly claimed that Carl agreed to the ceremony on the condition that the photo rights would be sold and the earnings would be donated to a charitable organization. In 2016, Dolly expressed that she was content and in love with Carl, stating that she would do it all over again if she could, and that is exactly what she did. She made a light-hearted statement that she is intent on their long-term commitment to one another, and that she is resolved to be by his side during the next 50 years of their adventure together. All right, let's get started with the big announcement that you've been anticipating. There is a reason why Dolly Parton does not have any children. During an interview, Dolly provided a comprehensive explanation for why she decided against embarking on the journey of becoming a parent. She explained that she did not have a strong desire to have children, despite the fact that this is what people would anticipate from her. Due to the fact that she was constantly traveling and had a singing career and a busy job, having children was not something that she considered to be of critical importance. Dolly said that if she had children, she would have remained a homemaker and would have been quite concerned about them. She would have stayed at home. In addition, Dolly mentioned that, taking into consideration the current state of the world, it would be challenging for her to bring a child into it under the circumstances that currently exist. She acknowledges that God chose to prevent her from having children so that she might have a general love for all children and be able to accommodate them as much as possible. As it turns out, that was not the initial idea for Dolly, which is an interesting development. In the discussion with the Board magazine that was mentioned earlier in 2014, Dolly shared that she and her husband had the belief that they would have children while they were still in the beginning stages of their relationship. One of the things that she discovered was that they had already decided on a name. On the other hand, she was also informed that she suffered from endometriosis, a troublesome ailment that can make it difficult to conceive. It is a disease known as endometriosis, which occurs when tissue that is comparable to the lining of the uterus grows outside of the uterus. Additionally, it might make it more difficult to conceive a child and cause considerable pain in the pelvis. The onset of endometriosis can occur during a woman's first menstrual period and continue until she reaches menopause. Unbelievably, there is neither a recognized method to avoid endometriosis nor a cure for it. Nevertheless, the symptoms of endometriosis can be managed with medications or, in some instances, via surgical procedures. Her ability to conceive was further hindered as a result of this. A partial hysterectomy was performed on Dolly in 1984, when she was 36 years old, in order to address health concerns. This information was disclosed in an interview with Closer Weekly. One of the most common surgical procedures, a hysterectomy, involves the removal of a person's uterus in its entirety or in part. The removal of a portion of Dolly's cervix coincided with the removal of her entire uterus during the surgical procedure. Dolly disclosed that as a consequence of this, she went through a serious period of melancholy and even entertained the idea of ending her own life at one point. Within the pages of her memoirs, she detailed the profound sense of loss and melancholy that she had after the operation, portraying it as a transformative period in her life. She made a reference to the fact that it was a disastrous moment for her. Her discussion of the subject is not something that should come as a surprise to anyone. Dolly Parton, who continues to thrive despite having trouble conceiving, has stated unequivocally that she does not feel a great sense of regret about not having children. This is in response to a question regarding her sentiments, which was posed to her earlier. I was surprised to hear that I hadn't missed it as much as I had anticipated I may have. As luck would have it, one of the most important strengths in their relationship is the fact that they share a sense of humor and are able to communicate openly with one another. The way that Dolly describes Carl is that he is both hilarious and incredibly bright. Geniality is something that has always been a part of her family, and she attributes this trait at the same time to both her motherly and fatherly sides. Dolly and Carl took on the task of raising several of Dolly's younger siblings in Nashville, despite the fact that Dolly had never been pregnant before. Consequently, their nieces and nephews started referring to them as Uncle Pio and Aunt Granny, respectively, throughout their childhood. The latter moniker subsequently came to be used to refer to one of the eateries that Dolly Parton owns at Dollywood. The tragic loss of Dolly's younger brother, Larry, was one of the close relationships that she developed, and it was one of the relationships that did not end well. In a recent conversation, Dolly discussed how difficult it was for her to come to terms with the passing of Larry, her younger brother. As she explained, her heart broke when he passed away, and she also mentioned that the challenges we endure in life help to develop who we are. Larry's story was so poignant that it moved more than 13 million people all around the world. In a similar vein, Dolly Parton uses the lyrics of her book, Melody, Tell My Life, to discuss how she is feeling at the passing of her brother. At the time of Larry's passing, she was terribly devastated. Yet, she had made preparations and used a great deal of effort in order to be there for him so that he could assume the position of a young mother. That she still sheds tears whenever she thinks about her little brother was something that she mentioned. The overpowering sensations of despair, loss, and anguish were against her, and she had to battle them. In point of fact, even at this very moment, whenever she sings songs such as Jeannie's Nervous About the Dim or Me and Little Andy, she is unable to resist the impulse to think about Larry and the huge impact he had on her life. Dolly also explained the relevance of the lyrics to Jeannie, who was scared of the dark, in the book that she recently published. It would appear that the song is trying to convey a message about the abrupt and unexpected deaths of children, much like Larry, her close sibling. Connection with Billy and Miley Cyrus is being discussed. As a matter of good fortune, there are a few happy moments in respect to Dolly's relationship with her family, and these moments include her friendship with Billy Cyrus and Miley Cyrus. There has been a long-lasting and precious companionship between Dolly Parton and Billy, beginning with his stay with her in the middle of the 1990s, which helped him advance his single, Aching and Broken Heart. Miley Cyrus and Dolly Parton were so close to one another during their joint tours that Cyrus asked Parton to be Miley's godmother when she was born in 1992. Despite the fact that Dolly did not have any children of her own, she was able to be a genuine mother to Miley because of this. Miley Cyrus, who is Dolly Parton's goddaughter, refers to her as her Aunt Dolly while expressing her appreciation for her. In addition to the fact that Miley frequently seeks guidance from her guardian, the two of them have collaborated on a variety of musical projects. Miley is a cultured lady who possesses an exceptional brain, unbelievable ability, and strong business impulses, according to Dolly, who has a deep respect for Miley. In an interview that took place in 2009 with Good Morning America, Dolly stated that she has known Miley since she was a young child. Even though there was no grandiose ceremony, she enthusiastically accepted the invitation to serve as Miley's godmother. She looked forward to the opportunity. Miley has become like a relative to her, and their bond area of strength is not having a normal backup parent function. When Miley transitioned from her Disney image to going after her grown-up character, the display of their connection was on full display for all to see. During this time period, certain persons interpreted her undoubtedly edgier manner of behavior as a cry for assistance. Dolly, on the other hand, continued to be a reliable source of assistance for her goddaughter. At one point, she mentioned in a gathering that people had a difficult time accepting Miley's progression. Miley Cyrus publicly expressed her want to be recognized for who she truly was, and she expressed the need to shed her Hannah Montana image. Dolly was able to comprehend the intent behind Miley's statements, despite the fact that some of her followers may have seen them as being harsh. Dolly kept her fingers crossed that people would not utterly attack and condemn Miley, not Miley herself, but rather the reaction of the public and the potential backlash that could occur. Following the outcry, Dolly had a big influence on how the general public saw Miley following the incident. This became abundantly obvious when Miley was considered for inclusion on the list of the Times 100 in the year 2014. In her statement, she stated that she had always had faith in Miley's capabilities and had confidence in her capabilities. It was her belief that the audience would eventually move on from that particular phase of her stage career. Dolly was there with Miley every step of the way as she went through the process of figuring out who she was while she was exploring her identity. In addition to providing her with guidance and support, she had faith in her goddaughter's abilities and potential prospects. Due to the fact that she was aware of the fact that Miley Cyrus felt the need to take extreme actions in order to break free from her prior image, she acknowledged that even her opinion of Miley Cyrus needed to undergo a complete metamorphosis. Dolly highlighted that Miley did not have to go to extremes, but that she appreciated and valued her decisions regardless of what she did happen. While Dolly was reflecting on her professional life, she came to the conclusion that Miley needs to follow in her footsteps by selecting her own unique path. They continue to have a deep connection with one another in both their professional and personal lives, and they have even worked together on big musical projects. While the majority of Miley's album, Younger Now, which was released in 2017, was Miley's work, Dolly was a co-writer on the song Rainbow Land. In an interview with Ellen DeGeneres, Miley Cyrus discussed the possibility of having her as a backup parent. She also mentioned how remarkable it was to be able to sing a Christmas song with Dolly Parton in the thick of a summer in Los Angeles. Dolly, on the other hand, was represented by Miley as a dogged and outstanding craftsman, and she said that what ultimately differentiates her from other people is the heavenly quality that she possesses as an individual. Dolly Parton's philanthropic movements. Dolly Parton has also been successful in a wide variety of other fields in addition to music. When she was in the 7th and 8th grades, she promised classmates that she would give them each $500 if they graduated from high school. This promise was made around the beginning of the 1990s. Through the implementation of this initiative, which is known as the Buddy Program, the dropout rate for these two grade levels was reduced from 3% to 1%. In addition to this, it inspired people of the community to make extra financial contributions, which ultimately led to a reduction in the dropout rate that was maintained over time. In a similar vein, Dolly and her Smoky Mountain endeavors were successful in raising $700,000. According to the recommendation of her close friend and fellow country music star Loretta Lynn, Dolly made a donation to the United Way of Humphreys County as both the beneficiary and the distributor. This was done in order to help the efforts that were being made to recover from the disastrous floods that occurred in Middle Tennessee in October 2021. In the aftermath of the horrific wildfires that ripped through the county in 2016, Loretta Lynn was one of the first people to provide assistance. Dolly expressed her gratitude to Loretta for her assistance, as well as to the willing assistance of a large number of other individuals, in order to demonstrate her appreciation and support. In an effort to show her appreciation for the consideration that was shown to her during the intense wildfires, Dolly made the decision to contribute to the recovery efforts that were being carried out in Center, Tennessee. In order for the people to recover from the harm that was caused by the floods, she had faith that the donations would provide them with the necessary cash. An additional announcement was made by the Dollywood Company, which was established by Dolly in 1986, that it will begin covering all of the educational expenses of its employees beginning in February of 2022. Additionally, the offer is extended to all 11,000 full-time, part-time, and seasonal employees who are employed at any of the 25 amusement parks and attractions that fall under Hershend Enterprises, which is the parent business of Dollywood. Through this program, which is known as the Grow You program, employees were given the opportunity to select from more than 100 different diploma, degree, and certificate programs that were offered in a wide range of professions. Additionally, students who were working for the company and were pursuing degrees in engineering, art design, hospitality, and other professions connected to the industry were eligible to participate in the program immediately after they began working for the company and may get financial aid of up to $5,150 per year. Apart from this, Dolly has not been very generous in her other activities, and the most of them have not focused on children. In the year 2022, she made a sizable donation of $1 million to the Vanderbilt University Medical Center R in order to support research on infectious diseases that affect children. The funds from this donation will be used to investigate the factors that lead to the development of these diseases, to gain an understanding of antibiotic resistance, and to prevent and treat infections in children who have cancer. Because of her philanthropic work, she was awarded the Carnegie Medal of Philanthropy in 2022. This honor was bestowed upon her in appreciation of her contributions to charitable causes. As part of the global network of Carnegie institutions, the prize is awarded on an annual basis to philanthropists who demonstrate innovative thinking. Despite the fact that she does not have any children, Dolly Parton continues to demonstrate to the world how to lead a life that is purposeful and satisfying. Also, do you concur with this statement? The comment box is where you should share your opinions with us.